What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys had yourselves a great weekend. We are finally back with the episode 10 review of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I meant to put this out earlier over the weekend, but I've been sick over the past couple of days, as I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I wanted to get this out while I while I'm able to do it. But this is going to be a quick review. I will have another video, kind of doing an overall season one review of the series, dropping later this week. There are some things apparently that are coming out for season two. I think this has already been renewed for a season 2 and 3. So, but primarily some season 2 stuff a little bit, and we got a little bit of that in this episode as well. So overall, fine episode. Okay, way to cap off season 1 of the series. Um, you know, do we? I was curious. Like, so basically, in the previous episode, what we saw was all the projects that Peter and his other classmates have been doing for Oscorp the past couple episodes were all being geared to creating a bridge to harvest the resources of the universe. And Osborn talks about Thor arriving, Chitauri attacking New York. Obviously there's other examples as well, such as like Ultron. And probably stuff that I assume hasn't happened yet happened yet in regards to Thanos and all that kind of stuff. So basically, Doctor Strange shows up. We saw him at the beginning, saw him here at the end. And what was interesting was not necessarily interesting, but it was kind of like Peter recognizes him, obviously, from being at the beginning of the episode where he was battling the Venom like monster or the symbiote like monster in front of Midtown High. Osborn brings it up, but Strange is kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then come to find out, he time traveled. He used the time stone while the fight was going on, while Peter was working on getting the bridge back up and running. Strange was taking on the symbiote monster and time traveled to, I guess maybe earlier that week. I'm not sure what the time. Well, no. It would have been about 4 or 5 months before. He travels 4 or 5 months before, all the way back to the beginning of what we saw in episode 1, where the battle ensued at Midtown and yada yada yada. We also saw the same spider that Osborn was engineering was the same spider that bit Peter, which I guess it makes sense on why it worked the way it did, because in the future, Osborn has Spider-Man's blood and Peter's DNA mixed with it, going in, engineering into this spider, and that spider bites Peter. Is just okay. Yeah. So it's an interesting question too, because towards the end of the episode, Strange talks about how much, because Peter finds them at Midtown, and Strange talks about how many lives were affected uh, because of this battle with this monster at Midtown. That resulted in like a lot of the students going to, was it Rockford, I think, the school. Um, so that's a curious question, because like, what's the timeline of, in this universe, of Peter becoming Spider-Man? Because the best way I could think about it is how the CW's The Flash, how because of Eobard Thawne kind of jump starting Barry being the Flash, maybe I think a year, 2 years, 3 years early. Um, Sorry about that. Anyway, jump starting the a few years early kind of like alters the timeline. So, what was the original timeline of Peter becoming Spider-Man uh in this particular universe for this series? And I'm very curious on what that is. And then, he talks about like, do some of the things like, does Lonnie still become Tombstone as early as he does, or is this something like a progress that happens a little bit later on? There are some questions that that are curious to me in regards to some of these characters. But um besides that, we did get it. We got like a small little montage of things happening over the end of the episode. Peter basically doesn't want to work for Oscorp or Mr. Osborn, which you know Nico kind of suggests that Harry, start his own business, that kind of thing, basically in the same realm as what Oscorp does, but better. Getting like-minded individuals like Peter to to use their knowledge and things like that to help better the world. So he has like a list of people. Now I don't recognize all their names, but two of the names is Max Dillon. So we got Electro, and then Ned Leeds, who in some cases is the Hobgoblin. So there's a bunch of other names. I'm not sure if those are just random names that they put out there, or if those are names of characters within the Spider-Man universe. I'm not too sure about that. But Norman also captures a small little sample of the symbiote monster that was left behind when Peter closed the portal, kind of like shut everything off, and a piece of it got cut off. That's obviously that's going to become the black suit at some point in these next couple of seasons, and then we'll get Venom. Obviously, we got Daredevil again, and then Jean. I don't know who she is as a character because we saw her earlier in the series with when she was kind of like looking at Oscorp. And then obviously Daredevil shows up a little bit later on. And then we see her here. I don't know what her superhero persona is in this series. I'll have to look that up. I'm trying to think. Lonnie is obviously the new guy for the 110 Street Gang, with Big Don dipping as he did in last week's episode, or episode 9. Octavius designing his mechanical arms, that kind of things, where he becomes Doc Ock. We saw Watu the Watcher, which was interesting. Nico's amulet lets her talk to her mother, who I guess has passed away. And then another thing was Peter's dad is alive in this series. Okay. I'm it's interesting. It's interesting. But obviously it's really hard to know where that plot line is going to go until we get like season 2, season 3, and all that. But it's an interesting thing. But I mean, overall, like I said, episode 10, fine, did his job as being the final episode of season 1. Overall, like I'll go more in depth in some of the stuff later this week. I want to do like another regular podcast episode, just talking about the series as a whole. But overall, so far, it was an all right series. Like it wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't bad. There are some things about it I didn't like. Some questioning why they went this way, but those are just more personal things for me than anything else. But yeah, it's just overall all right series. I think voice acting was fine. Took a while to get used to like the color scheme and what they were trying to do with this series. Very curious to see what happens in the next season in regards to some of the things, some of the breadcrumbs that were left or that was shown in this last episode of episode 10. Particularly with the Peter's dad being alive whole things. That's interesting. I'm very curious to see on where does that lead. I thought we were going to get a potential like Green Goblin kind of experiment thing happen where he becomes the Green Goblin, but I guess not. Which I'm fine with. I'm not mad about it, but yeah, it's going to just be interesting to see what happens in the future of this series. But pretty much that's all I have for you guys. Just wanted to drop something relatively quick to just give my thoughts about episode 10. I will have a video again out later this week to give my full thoughts about the series. Hopefully by that time I'm feeling a lot better. My voice is a lot better than what it may sound like right now. But yeah, guys, definitely hit that like and subscribe button, comment below. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a good one.